Welcome, everyone, to the Spend Life Well Show, where we apply biblical wisdom to your financial journey. I'm Certified Kingdom Advisor Mark Trice, and joining me, as always, in the podcast studio is the famous, infamous Jesse Hamilton.
That's me. Welcome, listeners. How's it going, Mark?
Hey, it's going pretty well. Hey, we're in Financial Planning Month. I know everyone was waiting, what's this month, right? Because, it's like Donut Month.
October's Halloween month to everybody, but I guess to us it's Financial Planning Month.
And doesn't have to be scary either, does it?
It's scary to a lot of people.
So we thought today we'd introduce financial planning to you. Now, financial planning does have its roots in biblical wisdom.
That's right.
We talk about in Proverbs about needing to plan. And then I'll think of the verse here in a minute. I should have done that before we started the podcast. But we know there's a lot of biblical wisdom dealing with preparing for the future, and that's what really financial planning is.
That's right.
So, Jesse, you want to take a crack at defining financial planning and why it's important for everyone?
If you went out on the street and said, "What is financial planning?" everybody would be like, "Oh, I know what that is. That's planning financially." And then you'd say, "Well, what does it mean?" And they're like, "Well, I don't know." I don't know if we have a specific definition for it, but it's very comprehensive and it applies to almost every aspect of your money.
That's right. And we should do a man on the street poll sometime with that, like they used to do on Letterman or something.
Mm-hmm.
But the financial planning is basically preparing a roadmap for your financial future, and that financial future can cross many areas of industry expertise, whether it be legal, accounting, tax planning,
That's right,
investment management, and so forth. But it's really trying to build the roadmap, your financial roadmap for your future.
And it's so much more than just simply budgeting. Right, which is what
Absolutely.
Some people would have answered. They would have said, "Oh, my financial plan is this month. I'm going to spend this and
save
this."
That man on the street poll would have said it's for rich people. It is not. It is for everyone. Everyone needs to be doing some type of financial planning.
That's right, and every stage of life too. If you're just starting out, maybe you're even as early as you're still living at home. That's fine. Start planning.
Well, it helps you prepare for the future, whether it be a goal to buy a car or simply get out of mom and dad's house.
Right.
Or if you're later in life and you've built up some wealth and you're wanting to figure out how to give that in a kingdom-oriented way, or to make sure we're being responsible about how we leave money to our unwashed heirs.
Mm-hmm. So we love working with people on this. A lot of people have done a great job of maybe accumulating the wealth. They've been chipping away at that 401k for their career, and now they're here and they're like, well, what's the point of this?
Well, a lot of people don't realize the advantage of having a well-thought-out financial plan.
Mm-hmm.
We can share some case studies and so forth, but we do know that folks that have a financial plan that they've developed over time, and it's constantly evolving. One notion that I'll just step aside here and make an aside. In the old days, when I first was working with financial advisors and doing things before I even became a licensed financial professional myself, I had a quote financial advisor do a financial plan for my wife and I, and I was frustrated because essentially that financial plan was outdated by the time I got to my parking lot. And got in my car.
They probably spent a bunch of money on a nice binder.
Yeah, it was a nice leather-bound book and stuff. I still have the notebook. I don't use the stuff in it because it's irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
But a financial plan is a living, breathing roadmap for your financial life. And by doing these types of planning, it frees you to do the things that you really want to do. But if you don't plan for them, it makes it more difficult.
Right.
We'll give a couple of different case studies, if you will.
Sure.
So I'm thinking of a particular couple that they've done well in life. They're later in life. They're in their 70s or they're in their mid 70s, and they have more than they need.
Okay.
Number one, how do you determine more? How much do you need? Well, that's part of the financial planning process. Figure out what you need to achieve a lifestyle that you want and achieve their life goals and dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And for this particular couple, their dream was to give half of it away.
Yeah.
Now, and they wanted to find the most efficient way to do that but they were concerned. They wanted to make sure that they had enough to live off of for a much longer life. That's an example there. Talking about a couple that has come in to talk to us. They're early in life. They're in their late 20s, early 30s, starting to have a family, and they're wondering, how do they even prepare for the future when they're trying to live paycheck to paycheck?
Right.
So a financial plan can help them get control of that spending and give them a roadmap for taking those little bitty baby steps towards that future goal, which for many, when you're in your 20s, you're thinking, retirement? That's 40 or 50 years away.
Yeah.
Why do I want to think about it today? I want to go downtown and hang out with my friends. So financial planning is a very deliberate process that helps you prepare that roadmap for the future.
Right.
So Jesse, let's talk about some of the key steps involved in the financial planning process.
Yeah, so it's going to look different depending on who you're working with. And obviously, you want to seek out a licensed professional for this process. But the first step when we work with people is going to be gathering the financial data. That's not really the fun part, but we have to collect information about your income, your savings, your assets. And then once we have that information, we can start diving into goals.
Okay, let's talk about gathering that stuff. You can, it used to, this is before you had Apple Maps or Google Maps and things.
Yeah.
Used to, you would pull out a map, right? To figure out your destination. And if you were really sophisticated, you go down to AAA and they'd create these little triptychs for you. It's a little book. It was about the size of a little notepad or whatever, and it would tell you step by step to where you're going from where you're going. But the thing is, you had to tell them, where are you starting? And gathering all that financial data gives us a starting point for which to plan.
Sure, it's the coordinates where we're starting from.
And so once we know where you are, we can begin to develop that plan, and we can talk about goals and setting financial goals. And and it's really hard to do, Jesse. And I mean, it's kind of hard to set those goals.
It is hard to set those goals. And one of the hardest parts of gathering the data is figuring out what your needs are. People struggle with this a lot.
That's right. I mean, so many people that we counsel don't even know what they're spending every month. And that's important. That's part of that gathering data and so forth. Right. But when it comes to setting financial goals, oftentimes it helps to have a guide, right?
That's right.
If I'm going on this financial journey, I better have a guide. Unless I've done it many times before, I know exactly where the waypoints are, and I know exactly what the altitude will be, and how far I have to hike, how much water I need to bring. I need a guide. And so, Jesse, if you've ever gone fishing and stuff like that, it helps sometimes if you're on a new body of water to have a guide to tell you this is where the sweet spot is at 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning, right?
Yeah.
So you want to have a guide to help you set those financial goals, because otherwise you're thinking, I don't know, I want to have enough money to live on.
Sure.
And that's a very good goal, except it's completely ill-defined. You have to define what that is. So what's the third one, Jesse, about how once we gather the data, we've set some goals and things?
That's really the analysis, and that's where Mark and I come into play. We do a lot of work running different scenarios, building out what ifs. What if the market performs well? What if it doesn't? What if your income drops? We do all of that analysis on our end, and that's a lot of work for us. So the clients often don't see that side of it.
Well, they do when they get the green thumb or the thumbs up to say, hey, you can do these, you can achieve these goals, and here's how.
But once we're done with the analysis, of course, we're gonna present the plan.
Right. And the financial plan is a living, breathing, ever-changing financial situation. I don't want to say document, because we don't really give a document. We give our clients a portal at which they can go in and tinker with things and play with the goals and stuff. But they'll always see where they are along that road,
right?
And what waypoint they're at.
It's funny that we call it that, because presenting a financial plan is an oxymoron, because the financial plan is going to change. They walk out the door, the plan is probably going to change.
And that's a key point, Jesse. Investors and folks that are looking to set those financial goals, you have to realize that it's going to change. It's going to change all the time. And that's why having a guide can really help you.
That's right. And of course, our last step here in the process is monitoring and adjusting as needed. That it doesn't just stop.
Yeah, you are constantly trying to evaluate that and things. I was thinking, I was in Colorado this summer, Jesse, and I
Okay.
was just thinking about this guide, and it just so happens that a guy graduated from the Baylor Business School
Yeah.
with a finance degree, but his passion in life was leading hikes and being a guide
That's cool.
for others in southern Colorado. And so we were out. The weather was kind of iffy. We got out. It was raining and cold, and you're summertime. You're expecting it to be much warmer, but he was able to guide us around the trails in a way that kept us somewhat protected from the elements, and also was able to give us, when it started raining hard toward the end of our tour, he gave us a direction to say, take this shortcut.
Sure.
And if you don't have that guide to tell you where to turn, where to stop, where to rest along your journey, it's going to be a struggle and it's going to be stressful. So that's why we just have to make sure that through that financial planning process, you enlist the services of a financial advisor or financial planner that can help you.
Right.
So Jesse, let's talk about some common financial goals that are going to go into almost every
Right.
financial plan.
So we think everybody needs financial planning, but if you're thinking about any of these things, you definitely need financial planning.
All right.
Retirement planning, saving for education.
Wait, so retirement planning is like I have to plan for it? I
Yeah,
just don't get a paycheck?
That's right. You got to start.
So, and funny that you say that, because we actually get a lot of folks that call in. We're talking to them, and they've had money. Their employer's been putting money into their 401k or 403b, and they want to retire. And they're like, okay, where do I get my paycheck from?
Mm-hmm.
And they're still thinking that someone's going to pay them. But retirement planning is about preparing for that journey when you are no longer working and having an income stream. There's lots of different sources there,
Exactly.
but you have to be prepared for that. But that phrasing of that question, where do I get my paycheck from, is something we hear so much, and it's because people aren't prepared for retirement.
Yeah, you always joke about the hard ones, which do happen. We ask, when are you going to retire? And they said, I submitted it yesterday.
Yeah, I submitted my resignation yesterday. I was like, okay. So we're kind of in crunch time. The time to plan for retirement is many, 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 many years before it's time for retirement.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's going to happen down the road. You might be forced to retire early.
Right.
If you start early in life, the better off you will be. If it's later in life and you're getting closer towards that goal line, then you certainly want to talk to a financial professional.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about retirement planning, saving for education if you're going to send your kids to school.
Right.
What about buying a home, Jesse?
It's very important, and it's deeply intertwined with your financial plan.
Yeah. Also, managing debt or getting out of debt.
That's right.
Is a process that a lot of people need help with.
If you're currently in debt, that we can help with that. That's a part of the plan.
How do you maintain and build emergency fund is another aspect of a common financial goal.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, a big one is just investment strategies.
Right.
And we can help you prioritize these things, and a good financial planner can help you with these things. But it's important that you realize that these are very common, and so there's lots of different information out there that you can do. Jesse, in the time we have remaining, what are some useful tools that can help people if they're not ready to talk to a financial planner? What are some tools they can use to kind of help them with that planning?
So there's lots of great calculators online. You can calculate, compound interest. What if I did this? I know there's one on the government website to do that. There's lots of budgeting tools you can get on your phone. Those are great.
There's FaithFi.
Great resources.
We like a lot, FaithFi.
FaithFi is awesome if you want to explore that app and really their whole universe of resources. There is retirement planning software. We do recommend that you tag team that with us.
Yeah, because a lot of the planning softwares that are out there are overly simplistic. They narrow down the complexity of your life to 3 variables.
Yeah, if you can do that, then it's probably not correct.
And they always tell you to save a whole lot more money than you really need to.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be depressing.
Yeah.
So how do folks get started?
What if you're young?
Well, if I'm young, I want to just start out with an emergency fund.
Okay.
And building that up, you need 3 to 6 months of living expenses. in an emergency fund, but read articles on
Okay.
saving for the future. Those are small steps that people can take. If you are in a professional and you've got maybe a dual income household or a single income household, you want to start talking to a financial professional early on. And believe me, there are tons of people out there that claim they're financial advisors. And it's one of my pet peeves because almost anybody can say they're a financial advisor, but they could be an insurance salesperson, or
Right.
they're selling car loans. I mean, it's just, you never know. But
So
you want
what
to
do you want
look
to
for
look for?
someone. You want to look for someone that is a fiduciary, either by their licenses or they've earned the certified financial planner designation. Now, in our office, I have an additional designation, which is the certified kingdom advisor, which means I've been trained and mentored in applying biblical wisdom to financial planning. So, but the important thing is for you to start small and gradually start building that plan. It's not going to happen overnight.
Right.
Even when we work with a client that has a lot of information, a lot of data, and is a rather sophisticated investor, it takes us several months to complete that initial plan.
Exactly. And to answer your question again in a very precise way, just talk to us.
Right.
Wherever you're at. If you want to get started with financial planning,
And that's probably the most important thing, is get started.
Yeah.
You know, I want to encourage our listeners to stay tuned for future episodes. We'll always delve deeper into some of these aspects of financial planning. But it's just, thank you so much for listening. If you like our podcast, give us a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and make sure that you are tuning in and subscribing to our channel so you can get the latest updates on various topics that we talk about.
That's
Folks,
right.
so for now, we are going to wrap up today's program, but thank you for listening to the Spend Life Well Show.